All right, guys, this is going to be a Euro USD yearly recap. We're going to take a look at what the Euro USD did in terms of throughout the year on these pivot zones, whether it's a short-term pivot zone, which I basically it's a yearly pivot levels and median levels, and then a long-term pivot and median levels, which is on a 10-year scale. So basically, we start off the year all the way back here, finding strong support off of the pivot. This is back in January 2023. And we found some support at that long term median level, pulled back, and stood here for about, I would say, almost a month in terms of finding this area of support before it finally took off. And then it found resistance exactly almost to the pip to that short term median level. And actually took a short position on this move to the downside. I was expecting maybe another test of this long term pivot level, only because if we look back here, we have strong support back here and strong support back here at the beginning of the year. But of course, the market found some support, pulled back, and I was able to get long on this little breakout over here. Which, if you look closely, this was categorized as a small falling wedge. And if I take my tool the way I have over here, this is my basic trendline tool. You can see this was the reason for the trade, right? And this was a nice move to the upside. So it did go much further than the median level, but I ended up taking profit here. And then finally, it rolled over and um, couldn't get past this high. As you can see, finally it tried to like top out, and finally the bears ended up taking over right back under this median level, and then it never looked back. I was expecting for this to finally get up to this long-term median level and resistance one, but obviously it didn't get there. So this whole section right here was more of a target I was looking for, and finally the market just couldn't get any higher than that. So surprisingly, ended up coming all the way back down to the pivot, and we had previous support all the way back in the beginning of the year. So pretty much right over here, there wasn't even divergence to really make the assumption that was going to be some type of support here. I like to see divergences on the MACD before being more convinced of taking a position. But once I saw we finally found support here, and you had this big candle right over here, I ended up on this small little pullback, ended up taking a long. Now the market it started trending higher, maybe about, we're gonna say 160 pips, maybe almost 170 pips, and pulled back. Now I didn't want to close my long position because I felt that if the market was gonna pull back, it was probably gonna look for this long-term median level right over here, and it's still holding on. So market's still finding some rebound here, and I'm looking to see if this market's going to head back up to this median level. Now the thing with this median level is that the year is pretty much over. So once January rolls around, January 2024, we're going to have a new set of short-term pivot levels, and then we're going to be able to calculate the new median zones and how the market's going to react to certain levels going to the new year, right? The long-term levels are still intact. Like I said, they're projected on a 10-year time frame, so those don't change for 10 years. Those stay on. And if I hide the short-term median levels, you can see that this is what it looks like, right? This is all the way going back to 2020, 2021. So you can see where the market's fluctuating. It really didn't do much when you look at the grand scheme of things during the year. So if I take this tool right over here, we really just went sideways the whole year. Even though you had nice fluctuations within the year, right? You have a nice 300 pip move to the downside, 400 plus pips to the upside, 200, 300 pips down, 400 pips up. and I think this whole move was about almost 700 pips. So there were a lot of good opportunities on the on this sideways action, right? As opposed to the previous year, where we had a nice smooth downtrend all throughout the year, which was great if you're a trend trader. But in our case, we're looking for big swings, and even if the market doesn't trend, we can still capitalize on these nice, 400, 500 pip swings. That's still fine. So going into the new year, what are we looking for? Well, if I go down to, let's say, the weekly, we can see that the market's still finding support. So we may continue to the next level, which I would put up here at this median level, which is about 1.15 or 1500. And that's what I'm looking for now, to see if the market can get up here. And of course, for the long term, we're going to look at a 3-month chart. And this is what I have on the 3-month chart. Like I mentioned before, we still have a wedge in play. Since it's such a long time frame, we have to let things play out. Obviously, the market is going to fluctuate month to month, so we still want to make sure to look at a larger view to see how the market's going to react going forward. Once we saw this red candle here on this quarterly chart, and the market started to rebound, looks like the market may continue to the upside going into the new year, and maybe even attempt another run to this 10-year pivot zone, which is, you can see the last resistance, which is all the way up by 1.22, but that still remains to be seen. We have to see how the market's going to react going into the beginning, at least into the first quarter of next year. So with that said, guys, we'll look to see what the market's going to do for the rest of the month, and how we're going to react going into the new year. So with that said, we'll see what happens, and I will see you in the next video.